The malt liquor project, what you know about that? Schlitz Ice. Ice malt liquor, what you know about that? Introduced in 1994 when Schlitz was under the control of the Stroh Brewing Company. It used to be around 7% alcohol, 7.2 I believe, and now it's jumped up to 8.2. Why did they start a Schlitz Ice malt liquor? Well, you know, in the mid-90s, you may not know this, but in the mid-90s the ice beer craze was really big. And so they started making ice malt liquors. Now, yeah, I had this in the freezer. You can see the frosted nature of it. And I did a taste challenge, which I'm doing multiple utilizations with this bottle. I bought it at a really nice liquor store, by the way, on Woodward Avenue in Detroit, and I was very impressed with downtown Detroit. I was expecting this atrocious place, and it was pretty nice, to be frank. So I went in that liquor store and I was flabbergasted. But first of all, and I can tell you the name of it if you need it, I can give you the information. But they had a lot of craft beer, okay, so, and a lot of really good liquors and wines. But then they had a big selection of malt liquors, and I looked on the shelf. This was hours before the Detroit Tigers baseball game was going to start, and I gasped, you know. So I'm walking down through downtown Detroit with this huge bag of malt liquors, and I said, I got to go all the way back to my car. So it was almost like a mile. So I walked back to my car, parked on Grand River Parkway, and I put it all in there. And then I stopped in this other liquor store on Grand River Parkway, and I said, oh, more. We want more. So then after the game, I made a point of going to that place. So, you know, it was a fascinating visit. But anyway, I'm getting a lot of utilization. I did a taste challenge with Lomza, malt liquor from Poland, the Bull Ice, and Colt 45 High Gravity. I nailed it. I had a feeling I was going to get that right, and I got 3 out of 3. Anyway, they came out with this in '94. They upped the alcohol. Now, I'll give you a little history of this. The original Schlitz malt liquor, 5.9% alcohol, came out in 65. And that was sort of like during the malt liquor craze, the 60s. There was a whole array of malt liquors that debuted in the 1960s, with Mickey's in 1962, Colt 45 in 63, Schlitz in 65, and it just, you know, like, it was an avalanche of it. That is very popular. Now in 1985, okay, well, I'm jumping ahead. In 1982, Stroh's bought Schlitz. And some people have described that as the minnow eating the whale, because Stroh's brewing was much smaller than Schlitz. And Schlitz had a lot of internal problems. The head of the company was sick with leukemia, or had already died. The family didn't want the company. They had all kind of labor problems, major debt issues, and they were still a huge company, now one of the top 2 or 3 beer companies in the world, but they were failing. And so Stroh's had this idea they're going to acquire everybody. So they acquired Schaefer in 1981, a company that was probably about the same size as them, another failing company. Then they bought Schlitz. Now they had to leverage their entire company to buy Schlitz. Okay, so they took on this massive and unmanageable debt load, and they just kept basically dying. And then in 1999, and during the Stroh's period, 82 to 99, they developed some new Schlitz malt liquor beers. The Red Bull in 1985, 5.9% alcohol, but it has a different recipe, and it's a little, and you malt liquor drinkers know it's different. Okay, in 1994, they developed Schlitz Ice Bull. Here's the 32-ounce bottle I bought in Tallahassee, Florida. I even remember the store and can give you the information if you need it. Here's Schlitz High Gravity, which came out in 05 after the buyout. I'll get to that. That is sold in West Louisiana, and I bought this can in Tallahassee, Florida as well. I go to Florida a lot for baseball trips and just general traveling, and Tallahassee is a good stop-off point. And go to ABC Liquors and other stores, and there's a lot of stuff there I can't get here. Okay, so anyway, back to this. So Stroh's, and it still says on the bottles, it says right here, Stroh, the Stroh Brewing Company, Milwaukee. Well, Stroh's was always in Detroit. But anyway, back to the story. Stroh's was dying, they were dying. And Pabst, who are the masters of acquisition, okay? Pabst Brewing Company went around basically from the 1950s, when they acquired Blatz, up until today, just buying out little struggling companies. So in 1999, Pabst swooped in and bought up the relics of Stroh's. Okay? And there was a big blockbuster interaction with Miller. I can't get into all that, but that was a fascinating story. Miller Brewing Company, Stroh's, and Pabst, okay? One of the biggest corporate deals in the history of beer brewing, by the way. But anyway, all right. Then in the 2000s, there was sort of like this high gravity fad, trend, whatever you want to call it. And so they came up with the high gravity. So today we have the regular Schlitz, okay, which actually came out in 2007, which replaced the other regular Schlitz, which was phased out in 2011. Fantastic beer. I have one can left in the fridge. And then you have your Schlitz malt liquor line, which is probably more popular actually and has better sales than the Schlitz beer line, lager beer line. And it's probably been the case since the late 70s when the Schlitz malt liquor started to eclipse the original Schlitz. But anyway, what do we get in Louisiana? Schlitz malt liquor, and that's limited, okay? Most stores around here don't sell it. I know of a few that do. They probably just trickle it out, probably barely moves. Now if I go to northwestern Louisiana to Shreveport, and I don't know why this is, that's a huge Schlitz town. Like, they might even have bars with Schlitz on draft. I don't, it's like this, like you go in a time warp back to the 1970s. I even saw a big 18-wheeler driving by one day with Schlitz on it. Schlitz beer. You go to any store in Shreveport and they've got Schlitz in all sort of configurations, 12-ounce bottles of Schlitz malt liquor. I have that over there on that shelf. 12 packs and an Old English 800 12 packs with the tiger on it. So that's a fascinating malt liquor experience. To go to Shreveport just to stop at all these places and you're just like overwhelmed, you know, you can't believe it. But anyway, you know, of course, the beer rating sites, Rate Beer, Beer Advocate, they hate this kind of stuff. I mean, they hate it. They don't just like say it's dull or it's ordinary. They hate it. They give it a 0 out of 100 or a 1. Sometimes they're nice and say a 1 out of 100. But I've always liked it, personally. It's got a lot of character. Tom, the Beer Whisperer, and I talked about him in the, gave him a little shout out in the Yingling Summer Wheat review, but he was posting on Facebook, he was really ripping Beer Advocate and Rate Beer hard, saying, you know, why do we ever look at those sites, they're garbage, and I never look at those sites, they have no value and all that. And he was sort of like taking the extreme position to kind of like get a discussion going. My opinion was, yes, I understand that they're biased and there's a lot of problems there, but on the other hand, I do like to look at Beer Advocate and Rate Beer because those are two popular sites. A lot of people write reviews on there, and I just like to see what are people saying about the beer. Yeah, they're going to be really hateful towards mass-produced lagers of any sort. They're pretty reliable with craft beers, though, but because that's their niche, they like that stuff, as do I. But one good thing about, and I can understand the pros and cons of Beer Advocate and craft and Rate Beer, of course, but I like to use those sites, and they're very helpful. Like Lee Russell, Earl Harlock, who's one of the original beer reviewers, he was talking about, he said, well, you know, they're pretty helpful because they'll give you a lot of information about beers that you couldn't ordinarily find. Like I use those, that Rate Beer especially, because they've got a list of every brewery in the world and what country it's located in with the link to the website. So if you want to learn about beer, rate beer and Beer Advocate to a large extent also. They're helpful. Now, of course, you got to take into consideration their ingrained or known, people know it, they're known bias. But back to the ice malt liquor. Yeah, it's pretty hefty. It's got a lot of alcohol, and I already did the taste challenge, and now I'm doing this. You know, I'm drinking this. I doubt I'm going to finish this bottle today. When you start drinking a lot of high gravity malt liquors, obviously you're going to run. Okay. Reset. You'll run into issues with elocution, like, you know, you have trouble pronouncing your S's. They'll slur, like Elvis Presley on stage 1975, 76 with taking depressants and but you know, that's part of the game. You know, you're going to drink a lot of ice malt liquors and high gravity malt liquors, and there's going to be physiological impact, whatnot. But beyond that, it is a sweet beer. There's an attraction there just because of the history, the fascination of the labels, and the whole malt liquor culture. It's not a trash beer, as some people would say. That's how I got into the fallout when Chad Poland's, Chad's Beer Reviews, and myself had a fallout in 2011 because of the trash beer thing. But you know, it's a fascinating genre, and it tastes good. I mean, you say, well, you know, malt liquors are bad. They all taste bad. Some do. But many don't, and I would venture to say that most don't taste bad. I can, off the top of my head, if I had time, could name a large number of malt liquors that don't taste bad, and in fact, in my opinion, taste good. They're like enjoyable, and that's a whole nother video. Can go toe to toe with a lot of other high gravity, strong alcohol, and not to mention expensive craft beers. Okay, and that was the whole point of my when I did the long drawn out video for Fuller's Vintage Ale, and some people took it entirely the wrong way, either intentionally or otherwise. Either they knew it, they were just using it to make trouble with me, or they are dim-witted and can't understand basic concepts. But I was saying that Fuller's Vintage Ale was not appreciably better than Schlitz Gold Bull, and I would stick by that assessment. But anyway, I would be interested to see what you think about Schlitz ice malt liquor, which is a beer that I basically have been fascinated with since 1996, 97, when I used to write, I still do it, but I used to write to all these beer companies, you know, hi, I'm interested in beer, could you send me information? And Stroh's was so very kind to send me a huge, and I mean huge, bundle of paper. They don't do paper anymore, they just tell you look on the internet, but a bundle of information, and there was a lot of talk about the ice malt liquor. So anyway, I'd like your feedback on what you think about this. It's fascinating to me. That's the way I feel about it. Not a problem, but Schlitz ice malt liquor, you will have problems with the S's. I've noticed that over the last decade and a half, you will have problems with the S's. Thank you for watching this mostly coherent video production.